Okay, so let's clean up a few things before we continue. Um, First of all, when I wrote the table, I need a space here. But then more significantly, I want to clean up the look of those lists and the grids. Um, so the way this works is when you create an array adapter, you can specify the layout for each item in the array adapter. And I'm using one of the built-in ones, the simple list item activated one. And also, so the way this works is the default one has a full layout, and then somewhere inside that layout is a text view that has an ID on it. So the array adapter knows that when you're displaying an item in the list, it should create an instance of this layout and then look for the text one, and then that's what actually gets set to the string value of whatever your items are. So I'm going to create my own that has less padding and also uses single line mode so that the text doesn't get wrapped. And then I'll also style it to show when it's activated. So first, I want to create a new layout. So I'm going to right click on my layout folder and create new layout resource file. And I'll call this grid text. And I'm just going to have a top level text view for my text one. And reformat this a little bit. So I need to give this an ID that I can refer to in my code, and call that the, I don't know, text one is fine. So this will be my r.id.text1. And then the width is going to be match parent. The height is going to be wrap content. And let's see how that goes. So the name of my layout is grid text. The name of my text is text1. So here I'm going to use r.layout.gridText, and here I'm going to use r.id.text1. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my other grid view. Okay, and let's see if this works. So it should look a little different now. Okay, so it does look a little different. I haven't done the wrapping yet, so these are probably still, oh no, looks okay. All right, good. So now it's using my new layout. Let's tweak this a little bit to, I'm going to show a little bit of gray on it, gray background for my text view, and I'm going to put a little tiny bit of padding around each one so that they look separated. And then when the thing is activated, when you've clicked on it and it's selected, it's going to show a different color. So the first thing I want to do is set the background color. Now, in my grid text, what I want to do is set background, and I need to set this to a drawable. And I'm going to create a new drawable, and I'll call it grid background. And the way I get it to show a different background if the thing is selected than if it's not selected is by using a selector drawable. So new drawable resource file, and this is going to be grid background. And I start with the selector. So I want to create an item for state selected. So if state selected is true, then the drawable is going to be a new selected. background. And then I'm going to give it a default one by just saying drawable. And then this will be drawable normal. Okay, so that's my selector. Now I need a drawable for when it's selected. So new drawable selected. And this is just going to be a shape with a solid color. Start with gray. We'll just do a light gray. Actually, this one is the one. This is the one they get when they click on it. So let's do a little green highlight. So red, and then green, and then blue, and then we'll do a normal one. I call it normal or default. Oh, I'll fix it. So let me copy my selected. And I'll just make this one be light gray. So let's go C0, C0, C0. Okay. So let's look at our grid background again. These are good. So I also have to set the in my activity main, this grid view, I need to set the selection mode. Choice mode is single choice, and I'll do that for all of them. So that only one is highlighted at a time. And then when the user actually does click on one, so right now they can really only click on the table list. I'm going to set the grid dot set item checked for position to be true. So now this has to be final, so let's make grid final. And I think that's the only thing that needs to be selected right now. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like. I might need to add some padding to these drawables, or some padding to the text boxes. Yeah, I need some padding. So customer table, so I fixed that. I just need to separate these out a little bit. And it's also not doing the right selection here. So make sure I added it to the right place. Yeah, that's the table list listener. I think I wanted state activated rather than state selected here. And let's go ahead and add some space in our grid. So horizontal spacing set to 2dp, and vertical spacing we'll set to 2dp. And then I'll copy that to my other grid views so I have a consistent look. And let's see if that fixed it. Okay, so we have a little space now. Oh, that's not a very nice green at all. So I need a little space between this list and, or this grid and this grid. And I'm going to tone this green down. So after this grid, I'm going to add a little padding on the right. So padding right, let's use 2dp here. And then let's look at our selected drawable. And I'm going to click on this guy. And let's tone that down. Maybe a little bluer. That looks okay. And then I also want to make the header row always be highlighted, and then the data is always going to be gray. So let's go back to our grid text, and I'm going to copy this and create a new copy, and I'm going to call it header text. And this one, instead of using the selectable grid background, I'm just going to use the pressed one, the selected one. So it will always show the same green as when the list is selected. Okay. Oh, so that green that's better. Oh, and I forgot to set my layout. So let me set the layout here as well. So in my activity main activity, so here's where I'm setting the layout for my data table header. That's the data table header. And so I'm going to use my header text here. And I called it text1 in there too, so this should work. Good. Okay, so now my header is green. And my log file is complaining I have too much output, so let me go ahead and clear the log. Great. So now we're ready to move on to the data grid.